Hey guys, today I'm going to be catching you up on what's been going on with the Cyclecar build. So first things first, why did I start calling this series a Cyclecar build instead of the older budget go-kart build? Well, the definition of a cyclecar is a small, cheap vehicle from the early 20th century that were made to, quote, fill a gap in the market between the motorcycle and the car, according to Wikipedia.com. And thinking about the design that I had in mind, I thought that it was more of a cyclecar than a go-kart, or anything else for that matter. Also, it's not quite a budget build anymore, because after talking with my parents, grandparents, and other relatives about it, they got excited about building this as well. So it's kind of a family project at this point. This makes it a lot easier because I have many great minds to help me with this, and a bigger budget. Alright, now that I've gotten that cleared up, let me catch you up on what's been going on. So, a few days after I posted about day 3, we took apart the lawnmower engine. After looking at everything that we would have had to do to make it run well in this car, we decided that it might be just cheaper and easier to buy a bigger, more powerful engine that is already set up to deal with what we were trying to build. After a lot of research and many calculations of what we expected of the engine, courtesy of my grandfather, we purchased this, a Honda GX270. This engine produces about 14 pound-feet of torque at 2500 RPM and 8.5 horsepower at 3600 RPM. Also, as the name suggests, this engine has 270 cubic centimeters of displacement as opposed to the 190 of the lawnmower. This engine also features many cool gadgets that the lawnmower engine did not, such as a horizontal shaft, an electric starter, and a battery that would be powerful enough to power lights on a car, and other things like that. After we got the power plant figured out, we then had to move on to a gearing system. The gearing system that we ended up installing actually requires no gears at all. Instead of a standard transmission with a certain amount of gears, we installed a CVT, or a continuously variable transmission. Before I start explaining this, you have to understand that if there are 2 gears, or 2 pulleys connected by belt, and if the power input gear is larger than the power output gear, then the power that is being generated will be converted into more speed and less torque. If you have a smaller input gear or pulley that is smaller than the output gear, then the power that is being generated will be converted into more torque and less speed. When a car changes gears, you start off with more torque in the first gears to start the car's motion, and end up with more speed in the later gears to continue the car's motion and speed it up. Anyway, a CVT basically consists of 2 spring-loaded pulleys and a belt connecting the 2. In resting position, the setup looks like this. Here, we can see that more torque will be generated when the engine starts to run. However, the walls of the pulleys are convex, so as the engine speeds up, centripetal force pulls the drive pulley walls in. That forces the belt that is riding on the pulley to move farther up because it has nowhere else to go. But since the belt can't stretch very far, the motion of the belt moving to one side forces the output pulley open. Here, we can see that more speed will be generated. Next, we had to figure out how to move the power to the wheels. We originally had a differential axle that could connect directly to the CVT. There are a few issues with that, however. One, the differential axle wasn't that long, only about 36 inches. We wanted as wide of a wheel track as possible to lower the center of gravity so we could avoid tipping the vehicle over. 2, with this system, we were limited on how big the wheels could be. The bigger the wheels, the less torque to the ground that we have. Also, when we stop the vehicle, the bigger the wheels, the more torque that goes back into the system. Since the differential axle had a lot of moving parts, if we were to apply too much torque into that system, there was more of a chance that something would break on it. Lastly, the system was very rigid and didn't allow for certain features that I wanted on the car. So instead of a differential, we went with a solid axle. It solves pretty much all of our problems, but like everything in engineering, there are trade-offs. One of the big trade-offs is that even though the solid axle solves a bunch of our problems, the wheels will be kind of fighting each other around corners because the outside wheel always wants to go faster around corners, but the axle will be solid, so the wheels are forced to move at the same speed. What my grandfather ended up designing is a certain type of mount that allows the axle to rotate on a swing arm separately while still having the ability to be driven by the engine. The last thing that we've done since the last video is a test run with the new engine. It ran pretty well, and we achieved 3400 RPMs on the end of the drive shaft coming from the CVT. Of course, this is just a test run without the drive gear attached or anything like that. Well, that's pretty much everything that's been going on since the last video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also be sure to email me at dfanchmail@gmail.com if you have any comments or questions.